always had it in my head, even going back to, you know, reading Enies Lobby, that like Luffy's final form would be that he would like turn himself into a giant. And I still believe that he will be able to turn into a giant.
Another one.
What's up, y'all? You know what time it is. It's about to be that time. About to be that time. That time.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
And we are back! One Piece 1045 is out, and it is indeed the most ridiculous chapter in the world. I love it. We're taking it back to goofy pre-time skip One Piece, okay? But more than anything, Giant Luffy is real. Massive W. Ever since Enies Lobby, since the first Giganto pistol, really even before that because of Plastic Man and Mr. Fantastic, but I have been saying, and I've been posting on forums, and we've been talking about it in videos forever. I sound like a broken record. Luffy's going to turn into a giant. That's going to be Luffy's awakening. That's going to be Luffy's final form, and we have it. After the chapter where he said, "This is my peak," he turns into a giant and double dutches with Kaido.
Savage.
Unreal. All right. Just gotta channel Ric Flair. I'm sorry, people, but this is so. It's such a long time coming. Woo! Stop gloating, Randy. I'm not. Hey, look. All right. If you don't get W's, apparently in this community, you're creditless. So, I gotta talk about mine. We got the homemade Nika drip,
Certified
courtesy
drip.
of Chrissy. I said, make it look as homemade as possible. And I love it. But if you want a real Nike Nika shirt, we do have those in the store now. That'll be pinned below. The certified drip that you see right here is a collaboration with Dan DeCarlo, who did the flag for the channel. Shout out to Dan. Look, we're gonna get into a lot today. I made a very interesting connection that I think might blow some minds. It certainly rose the hair on my arms when I thought about it. Okay, we're gonna take it back to Fishman Island. Here we go. So this is why I love One Piece. People are saying this is too goofy. Do you know what manga you're reading? Do you know what anime you're watching? Story time. First chapter that I ever read, I've talked about this a lot, all right, was the chapter right before Luffy gets to Orange Town. He's on the boat with Zoro, he reaches his arms out, he grabs this bird, and this bird snatches him, puts him in the middle, just eats him and whisks him away to Orange Town, all right? Literally like the first thing I'm reading. I have no basis for what this story is, and I am dying laughing, okay? And 20 years later, I'm still a fan. I'm making YouTube videos, and I have all of this behind me. And that is all due to this particular manga, this story that transcends media to begin with, is funny. It's goofy. It's ridiculous. That's what we got here. And if you were in the stream, you saw how much I was laughing at all of this. This was my favorite chapter out of all of the, you know, the bangers that we've been getting lately. And I'm not usually a, like, fight chapter guy. You know, like, I want to go to Marijoa. I want to see what's outside of the world. I want to start theorizing, right? But actually, there were some stuff in this particular chapter that made for theory fodder. Particularly, finding out that Luffy's transformation makes him white. Pure white transformation. Taking it to Columbia, Pusha T is about to dedicate an entire album to this man.
Ugh.
All right, I was going to wait. I was going to talk about the chapter a little bit, but I'm going to get right into this first theory because I think this is a banger. So, I think that when we see Luffy colored and all of that, I think it's going to be very reminiscent of Hody Jones when he transformed by eating the energy steroids from the Tamatebako Box. All right, why do I think this? When Hody Jones transformed, he went pure white. When he fell out of his transformation, he turned into an old man. When Luffy came out of his transformation, he turned into an old man. The world government is obsessed with the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. Once the world finds out that the Tamatebako Box is no longer in the possession of the FISHMAN, that it is found, right? That this treasure that they had kept hidden away suddenly resurfaced and was in the possession of Big Mom. The first tea party she holds after, a Cypher Pole Aegis Zero agent, Stussy, infiltrates the party to get that particular box. They wanted the energy steroids. Why? Because the energy steroids were probably manufactured as a way to recreate the transformation of the awakening of the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. So let's break this down. The Tamatebako was the national treasure of Fishman Island. Prior to having a bomb inside of it, it housed what is referred to as legendary pills. These pills were stolen by Hody 10 years ago while acting as one of Neptune's guards. After this incident, they placed a bomb in the box. The pills gave Hody enormous strength at the cost of his lifespan. Lifespan is an element that frequently comes up in reference to Luffy's abilities. Lucci even remarks that Gear Second is draining Luffy's lifespan each time that he uses it. Now, it's possible that Luffy's rubber body is what keeps his lifespan in check when using his abilities. Without that rubber body, Hody simply shriveled up after he ODs on what he and his crew call energy steroids. Without the elasticity of Luffy's fruit, he probably couldn't sustain the pressure that it put on his organs. Now, eventually the Tamatebako ends up in the possession of Big Mom, and Dufeld, one of the underworld bosses, gets a hold of it. Now, frequent guest of these tea parties, Stussy, reveals herself to be a Cypher Pole Aegis Zero agent. She is easily the most suited for this job. She goes after the Tamatebako. She plans to let Dufeld take the fall for its disappearance. Now, look at the box. Notice the swirls on it are reminiscent of Luffy's Gear 5 eyebrows, or maybe even devil fruit swirls, and we have that classic deity smoke going around all of it. Now, CP0 only acts off of direct orders from the Celestial Dragons or the Gorosei. The world government wanted these pills. I believe someone in the past, either to bolster the forces on JoyBoy's side against the world government 800 years ago, created these pills to try and stand a chance, but it all backfired. Maybe that's why JoyBoy had to apologize. Or perhaps it was the world government that created the pills to recreate the model Nika, the strength that it has, but it could not replicate the rubber body. But the strength feats alone were enough to defeat the Allied forces 800 years ago. Either way, the pills fall out of the clutches of the world government. They could not be replicated. Tinfoily, but nonetheless, I fully believe Luffy's actual color scheme here is entirely paper manga panel white with potentially red eyes like Hody and any Sulong. Sulong is referred to as moon lion. Another way to say lion in Japanese is shishi, which, as has been talked about plenty of times since 1044, is Luffy's laugh. The Su in Sulong could be a play on moon, which is Suki. Now, could the pills be harnessing the power of the moon or the sun? And since moonlight is actually just the reflection of sunlight, is it really the sun that gives the Minks their power? Now, originally, my going theory for the energy steroids was that they were meant to recreate the Sulong transformation because there are similarities between the Sulong transformation and what happened to Hody, even to the coloring of eyes and all kinds of things like that, right? Maybe there is some sort of a Mink correlation here. This is Luffy going Sulong, essentially. Was JoyBoy a Mink? You know, I mean, realistically, I think that JoyBoy was a snake, okay? That's my big tin foil, you know. JoyBoy was a snake, literally, like Nola, like Kashi. Ate the Hito Hito no Mi, and became a human. There's too much snake imagery in the story. We'll get into all of the specifics of that in a different video. King J in the chat was talking about something that I was going to get into with that theory, right? Is in the Nolan and Calgareth flashback, not only are they praying to a sun god, but they are also praying to a rain god, a forest god, and an earth god, okay? King J in the stream suggested, what if all of those gods are the posters, the pictures that Emu had during the reverie? Love that. Luffy's obviously the sun god. You know, if you've been following the channel for a while, that I have been saying that Vivi made it rain in Alabasta, that she has some sort of a connection to either the voice of all things, whatever. At that moment, she made it rain. Vivi is the rain god. King J said that. He was spitting. That's why Emu had the picture. Said that Shirahoshi was the forest god because Shirahoshi wants to find the forest. I was like, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but I'm on board. And then Blackbeard, the earth god, has the Gura Gura no Mi right now, is able to manipulate the ground and all of that with earthquakes. I think there's something there. I like that a lot, Jay, so I gotta shout you out for that. But even still, and this is going back, and we'll tie this back into Giant Luffy, right? Gigantification. Huge deal in the One Piece world. Everybody wants to do it. Big Mom wants it, Vegapunk wants it, the world government wants it, Caesar wants it. Everybody is trying to make people giant. And of course, they're trying to replicate the elements of the Gomu Gomu no Mi, aka the Hito Hito no Mi Madonika. And here we see it in the most majestic panel, the most massive W majestic panel that Oda could have given me, Giant Luffy. The Gorosei tell us that this fruit has eluded them for 800 years, as if it had a will of its own. But for the past 800 years, they have been consistently trying to replicate the effects of this fruit, the gigantification and the almost limitless power of it. So I think that the energy steroids managed to increase people's strength and give the physical representation of it, right? But instead of bringing joy, it brought anger, because there seems to be a bit of a role reversal there. And if it is such, then there will be a parallel that could be drawn later that Hody was an antithesis, an opposite to Nika and Nika's ideals, right? Because Nika was a freer of slaves, and then here Hody wanted to bring destruction against his own people and, oppression. And there's a lot of stuff that we'll be able to go back to Fishman Island and say, wow, this is Oda, trying to really show us the opposite of everything that Luffy stands for and what Nika stood for. Granted, Oda does that in just about every arc with the oppressor angle, and that Luffy comes in and liberates these islands. It's funny too, because there have been so many things over the years that have been thrown around for Luffy's awakening. Now, the one that was always thrown around, and I'm not taking credit for it, but we've talked about it on the channel before, Luffy making everything like a bouncy castle. Community theory, community headcanon for years, we get the confirmation of that. I was always Team Giant. We got both. It was basically like Oda said, what's Luffy's awakening? And he just said, yes. Yes to all of it. And it's possible we get the resin stuff at some point too, with bubbles and things. Who knows? Power is limitless. Last week, I said that the power was only based on his imagination. People took that as I'm saying that Luffy can shoot laser beams. No, I'm not saying that. Luffy's only going to be able to do what is within his power, his parameters within his body. If he can twist his body to make it, then yes. If he eventually figures out how to produce liquid rubber, which it doesn't seem like Oda is going that route, and I'm okay with that. That'll be a different story. But the other thing that I've been saying that Luffy is going to be able to do and be responsible for is size manipulation. And we kind of got something pretty big in the case of this. Because when Luffy turned giant, so did his clothes. So did his chanclas. He was able to alter and manipulate the size of his own clothes. When he was inside Kaido, he was able to manipulate Kaido's body, his own molecular structure, his own property. He made Kaido rubber, Kaido was saying, which is something else that we talked about, because I said that Luffy's power, his awakening, would probably work more so like Kid's, where Kid was able to assign his power to another person. But we're actually getting the best of both worlds here, which is insane, because Luffy is affecting the environment like Doflamingo, like Katakuri, but he is also affecting his enemy like Kid. So it's so crazy, it's so absurd, right? He balloons within Kaido and alters the size of Kaido. So the chances that Zunisha was a normal elephant that was ballooned by JoyBoy isn't that crazy of a tinfoil idea anymore. We'll see. We'll see. But Luffy's able to make other things grow and change size. That's confirmed.
Another one.
My man played double dutch with Kaido. He took him, and like Doflamingo spun Law around when he cut his arm off, this man started jumping rope mid-air, flying down to Onigashima, and he was ready to slam him down before he got blasted. Oda was having so much fun. And so was I. This chapter is ridiculous, and I love it. Peak fiction. There was a fun callback to Skypiea this week, which involves panels that I had used last week, where Luffy was inside Nola. Nola has died at this point, right? And Luffy's just looking through the eye. Now Luffy is inside a dragon, which, you know, could be considered some sort of a snake. It's snake-like, right? And he's looking through Kaido's eyes. Now, initially I thought Luffy actually went through Kaido's eye, but what he actually did was used Kaido's eyes as gloves and slingshotted himself from Kaido's nose out through Kaido's mouth. And at the end, when he punched through Kaido, which was just ridiculous, you know, Tom and Jerry, Hanna-Barbera, Tex Avery, Looney Tunes, Luffy Tunes, he's doing the most right now. And Kaido recognizes that he's doing the most. He's saying, you're going to kill yourself, right? And he's something of a suicide expert himself. So I think he would know a thing or two. Luffy's heartbeat is staggering. Lifespan. Talked about this a lot. Lifespan is a huge part of this series. When he used Gear Second, he's draining his lifespan. Ivankov's power affects lifespan. Big Mom's power takes away lifespan. That's why I think that Law's power, the immortality operation, is the ability to give lifespan. It's not perpetual youth. It is not eternal life, but to give the remaining lifespan. We could be getting to a situation where Law has to finally give lifespan. If Luffy dies here, which is possible, Law, after seeing the things that Luffy has done, a man was, you know, pulling a Stanley Ipkiss and eye-popping out at Luffy in this chapter, along with some others, which was probably the most unexpected and funniest panel of the chapter. Kaido says that Luffy's awakening is that of a Paramecia type, but that his transformations remind him of a Zoan. So, could it be said that Luffy's fruit is so sought after because it defies the logic and the classifications by being both Paramecia and Zoan, that in its mythical state, it is both. It has the properties of both. The Gorosei say that the fruit has another name. So it is the Gomu Gomu no Mi, but it is also the Hito Hito no Mi Maru Nika. Or is it always just the Gomu Gomu no Mi, but because Nika used it in the way that he did and figured out ways to transform and all of this, that they gave it this other name? Because I mean, it's also the classification in itself is just sort of weird, and we need more information. Either way, the government wants it. The government wants Luffy. And I think that this is a prime time for Luffy to, hopefully, by the end of all of this, after he defeats Kaido, and I'm thinking by 1050, we're going to get a reveal of a new addition to this arc, probably Vegapunk. If Luffy can get captured so that experimentation can be done on him, because it is foreshadowed, right? Gigantification. Tamatebako Box. These energy steroids. The fact that they want the fruit. Sun God Nika. All of this stuff. Let's get that Marineford inversion where Luffy is captured and everybody's got to come and save him. That's the ideal scenario for me. Maybe it's a little wacky. It's still very headcanon-y and all that, but I would still love that. We don't need it to be Sabo's captured. Have the Grand Fleet go, and if he is captured, break him out of Impel Down. And that's the massive thing that they do that leads to the end of the series, because Sabo will be key and instrumental in saving Luffy. That'd be fun. Where do we go from here? More Luffy and Kaido fighting. Alright, we still need 2 plot points to get resolved. Frankie and Zoro, Robin and Brook. Right, I think Robin and Brook are going to confront Schoolboy Collins, the other CP0 member. Zoro could be dead. And we'll have to figure some way to get him back. If we cut to anything in the next chapter, I think it's going to be that. We are getting very close to a Kaido flashback. There's no way around it. And I think it's going to come right as Luffy's dealing the final blow, or right before. And then we're going to come out of it. And it's going to seem like everything is good, and we're going to have fixed everything and all of that, and that's when the final antagonist of this arc will show up, and no one's going to be ready, because Luffy's going to be down and out like he was at the end of Thriller Bark. I really, really do feel like we are moving towards the end of this fight between Luffy and Kaido. There is no reason to drag this on any longer. If Oda does, he's got some grand plan, and I'm all here for it. But based on the context, Kaido's going down within the next 5 chapters. And that's going to do it. What a chapter. Giant Luffy, finally, after like 15 years of hoping and praying for it, it has happened. It feels good. It feels good, man. This all-white transformation that he has, I think it has something to do with those energy steroids. I think it's going to look like a Sulong. It's going to look like Hody. That's what we're getting here. I want to see fan art without Luffy's pale face. He needs to look like a cartoon. He needs to look like he came right off of the manga page. All right? Rubber hose animation. Our boy is black and white, but really all white. Minority Hunter Zoro's looking at him like, that's my captain. Savage. And that's going to wrap things up, everybody. Okay? I'd like to shout out the new member, Flandimon91, for joining the channel, and Chocotaco4233 for rejoining, and to everybody who supports the channel. Chrissy and I appreciate it very much. Reminder, anybody that wants to cop a Nika Nike shirt, the store will be pinned below.
Certified
and
drip.
That's going to do it. We don't have a break, so 10:46 is coming soon. Looking forward to it. We'll have the stream here on Friday. As always, anybody that's looking for the stream for this particular video, that will also be in the description, okay? That's over on the second channel. The reaction portion is on this main channel, though. Catch everybody soon. Later. The Devil Fruit Encyclopedia was modified by the Gorosei. I just turned into rubber. Let me look in the book. Okay. Gomu Gomu no Mi. All right. Got it. But then, you remove the white out and all that stuff. You look deeper and it's like, Hito Hito no Mi model giant. Just making it up.
Savage.